As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission, I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain, keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Let's camera action.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHHLP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Yeah, Earl.
All right, good morning. Welcome, folks. Thank you for joining us on the Tom Ficklin Morning Show. Today, we're going to be having some community conversations, courageous community conversations. So thank you again for joining us, and thank you, Tom, for the platform, and thank you, as always, Harry, the number one producer in the game. Today, we have with us the esteemed Sean Reeves. How you doing today, brother?
Peace. I'm wonderful, man. Actually, excellent. No complaints.
Yeah, you're like the most positive brother that I know. No matter what is going on, yo, you are pumping out some great energy, man.
So, through struggle and pain, man, I've been able to find perseverance and, through giving my life over to my Most High, I found balance, fam. The one thing that I needed was balance, right? And I found that. Right, so life is good.
That's what's up, man. So you just mentioned, actually, before we even get into that, you mind, some of the folks listening may know who you are. You're a New Haven native, just like myself. We grew up not that far from each other, attended the same high school, but tell the folks a little bit about you, Mr. Reeves, if you care to share, whatever it is that you care to share.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. So, Sean Reeves, senior, actually, lifelong New Haven resident, 50 years now, be 51 come September, Lord willing.
That's why you are older than me, but it's all good. You look younger than me, but
go ahead. So as my current role, I'm a community activist, to say the least. I work with youth, deal with a lot of empowerment possibilities. I've been connected to an organization called Connecticut Against Gun Violence for several years, working on those fronts around gun violence initiatives, things like that. But, I'm a local street kid, man, high school graduate, made some bad choices, became a 3-time convicted felon, came home in 2004 after serving almost 7 years on an 8-year sentence. Decided I wasn't going back to prison, man, and, just trying to be decisive about every decision that I made, and how it was going to affect me and my family.
So
2008.
Hold up, just one point, because you and I both work with individuals that have been in and out the system. They've been on the carousel, or some would call the installment plan. What was the definitive thing that helped you make that choice that you was gonna get off of that carousel, not be on the installment plan? Because you and I both know we work with some people, they're just not ready. They're not ready. They still continue to go in and out.
Me personally, I already knew that jail wasn't for me the first time I went in, right? It was the lifestyle that I carry. And when I decided that I no longer needed that lifestyle, things began to kind of transform for me. I came home in 2004, I got into the Carpenters Union, and that was probably the pinnacle situation that kept me afloat. Good job, decent pay, good benefits for myself, my wife, and my children. And I was beginning to learn new skills that I can take with me almost anywhere across the world, right? So it just put me back in a position to where now I can kind of see myself having a life, and actually having a good life with a decent paying job, not just a McDonald's job or a Dunkin' Donuts job. So I did 4 years in that program. I left there, full-fledged carpenter, making $35 an hour. But then I became an entrepreneur around 2008, took a pink slip, and I've never gone back to carpentry since.
All right.
Kareem,
Noble profession
excuse me,
carpentry
one
for those
second.
that believe. Yep. You good?
You with them? Still out. They already know where to go. I'll see you when you get back. All right.
I was just saying, noble profession carpentry for those that believe in Jesus. He was a carpenter, but it's not for everybody. And also, not knocking those who do work at the McDonald's jobs, whatever. Sometimes you do what you have to do, rather than making some poor decisions that may harm you or the community or your future. Entrepreneurship, though, that's major because that's you trusting in yourself and only yourself and your skills and going out on faith.
Well, so I grew up in a community where we were young entrepreneurs, man. I shoveled snow, cleaned basements, sold apples at my grandfather's shop, even changed tires with my grandfather. So we were instilled with an entrepreneurial spirit, very, very young. Again, I was really, really smart, probably a little bit too smart for my own good. And when I got introduced to narcotics and the selling and dealing of narcotics, it was just a fascination to me, learning how to do things that I didn't know how to do. Before I was 20, I was making more money than my mom's and a lot of people in my family put together.
Wow.
So,
So,
sometimes I
so
think our smarts
go ahead.
get us in trouble.
I mean, I can agree with that. You also have it's a wild double edged sword because we both tracked through most of the same schools in Newhallville and then career. You have this double edged sword where in some cases you have some really smart, talented kids that come out of our neighborhoods and some folks wrap their hands around them and they put them on this track and they just you just know these folks are going to succeed. And regardless, I mean, and it's not always true. Sometimes people make some poor choices, even in that, even when you got your hands wrapped around you. But then you have some individuals, I would say, like on this bell curve, and they're like in the middle. You have your folks that are tracked for success. You have your folks in the middle. They're not unintelligent. They may be mediocre because they don't have the ambition or the drive, but they're super intelligent. Then you have your folks at the bottom of the bell curve, and those you may have a group of folks in there that are really smart. They just need some mentoring or their hands wrapped around them in a certain fashion. But we have these kind of tracks that we come out of, and you have some of these smart kids that are just bored and they don't have any outlet necessarily. Some find sports or video games, or in my case was comic books, but you just kind of you don't necessarily move until some kind of catalyst hits you. And sometimes that's making a poor decision and you finding your way. And sometimes people don't find their way. But I say all that to say, as driven and intelligent as a lot of us are, even though we had some good mentors in our lives, we still made some different choices that in some cases, some of us wish we could take back. In other cases, they made us who we are. Where do you stand on that with some of the choices that you made and in your entrepreneurial spirit and where you're at
Um,
now?
Sitting here, man, every choice that I made has gotten me where I am today, right? Had I not made the choices that I made and gone through the struggles that I've been through, then I wouldn't be sitting in this seat or any other seats having the same level of conversation that I've been having, right? My life experience has afforded me the opportunity to help produce change here because that's what I want, right? I wouldn't take anything back. If I tell you, if I have any regrets in life, man, the one regret that I personally have in life is the fact that when my son passed away, I didn't have the strength to fight to keep my marriage intact.
Wow.
That's it. I don't have any other regrets. I'm a warrior. You know what I'm saying? I fought some heavy battles. I'm going to continue to fight heavy battles. I've now found my purpose in life, and I know that that comes with everything that I've already gone through and everything that I'm going to be going through. But now it's a clarity and a much more focused understanding of a lot of the trials and tribulations that I've had to endure.
those trials and tribulations have prepared you for where you're at now and where you're looking to be for in the future. Okay.
Definitely.
So that
No, I was just gonna say, somebody told me today, I have a different level of strength and a different level of resolve about me. And I told him, it's because of all of that stuff, right? It's because when you're on the edge, but you don't want to jump, you have to find a way to tell yourself why you shouldn't jump, right? And then once you decide not to jump and turn around, you still have to figure out where you're going because you put yourself on a ledge as if there was nothing else for you to do and nowhere else to turn.
I mean, that's a
I've just been fortunate.
that's a tough spot to be in because a lot of folks, men in particular, and I mean men and women, women have their own struggle, men have their own struggle. I think a lot is put on our women in society, and they have a great load to bear expectations. But similarly, I think us as men, in particular Black men, have a lot of expectations put on us, and we find ourselves on that ledge often. And
Mm-hmm.
men, I think, often suffer in silence, and we just keep pushing and keep pushing and keep pushing. And I got a number of friends who I may ask or who may ask me, "Hey, how you doing?" You just go, "Okay, I'm fine," and you're really not.
Right. I mean, so for me, I was open to assistance. It was just me finding the right people to trust with my feelings. So I realized it wasn't my friends. It wasn't the people that I was already friends with, close to. They couldn't access feelings and access their feelings for me. So I ran into um probably what I call my first mentor, Edward Trimble, one day. Just had a conversation inside of my print shop around business cards. But his intelligence and his wisdom at the time and his mind was probably one of the most powerful minds that I could connect with to help me see life after death. And that was through chess.
I was just gonna say that Mr. Trimble, he's your partner in the sports academy with the chess.
So yeah,
I don't know
Ed
what they
Trimble is
would
the
call it
founder of
exactly.
Sport Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I still use him as a mentor, since I'd been with Connecticut Against Gun Violence. I, kind of took a big step back from doing weekend mentoring with the kids to focus a little bit more around advocacy, finding out where resources existed, all of those things. I still participate in chess in several ways. I use it every day in my life, but I'm now using chess in a new nonprofit that I formed called Motivate Kids Incorporated to promote economic development, financial literacy principles. Because for me, in my business intelligence, chess has now given me a window of opportunity to help my community find ways to not have to have the same low income community conversations. The goal is to find more financially sound and more fiscally capable endeavors to raise our income mediums in our households to a standard that's acceptable and allows families to not have to live in a crisis state, but actually figure out better ways and actually where they want to live, where they want their kids to go to school at and things like that. But we have not taken on an economic advanced um, system for ourselves in Black communities in quite some time. So when the average income median was 36,000 10 years ago, the average income median in most Black families in the household now is still 36 to 40,000. But the American average income median went from 72 to 92, which is almost 100,000. So when we were already down 40 and 50,000, we're now down 60 and 70,000. And we have to deal with increases in wages, better jobs, better positioning. And it means that we have to deal with our youth and those that are coming up above us, underneath us, and give them a heavy skill set system that's going to afford them the opportunities to compete in the world that they're going to be stepping into, not the world that we're currently in.
No, I agree. We do need to have a eyes front forward to the future. And you're talking about economic stability and economic growth in perpetuity. I think that's a tough conversation to have in our community. It shouldn't be. If you go back through our history and understand how we did things cooperatively as a community back in the day, but it's a very and it's a whole society thing. But I think it negatively impacts our community specifically in this kind of individualistic mentality. Every person for themselves. I got mine, you get yours, as opposed to we all getting everything together. We all trusting each other that instead of me fighting for this crumb over here and me and you fighting for this crumb over here, we can work together, get the money or the bag or whatever you want to call it, multiply it. And I'm shying away from the terminology generational wealth, but having a plan that's going to foundationally set up our families and our communities for prosperity.
All right, so it used to be a tough conversation, I think, because most people don't know where to position others for resources in the areas of entrepreneurism and business development. But me recently, I really just been kind of going in trying to figure out where's my target market, right? In a community that lives in a state of crisis, people are trying to become entrepreneurs, but on no budgets at all, trying to make it work. I'm a print company and I provide marketing products and print products to these individuals. I'm discounting all of them just so that way they can kind of get themselves in position, but it's not doing me any good. So I had to figure out where do I really do business at to be able to be successful. Federal government contracting, state and local government contracting was the platform for me. Right. So I started looking into the industries. The federal government spends $600 billion a year on products and services. They buy from all kinds of different big box, little box, and brand new vendors that are inside of the SAMS.gov system. So when I was once chasing $1 million in my community from people that don't even have $1,000 in their average bank account at any given moment, I now have access to a system and an opportunity that seeks individual businesses out like mine to do business with because they need more vendors inside of their system to buy the products and services they're looking for. I can mark my products up, the 4-time markup, 3-time markup, or whatever have you that those products afford, and not have to worry about being too high priced. When right now I'm underpricing myself in a lot of the products I sell to my community members just to help. Right. So again, I'm planning, I'm prepping, I'm learning, but I was an entrepreneur of a different caliber before I became a legalized entrepreneur, right? I didn't have any connections in this legal entrepreneurial world. I knew nothing about wholesale, vendors and all of these things. And now, I can get my hands on just about everything. So when the government is looking for nuts and bolts and screws, I can supply them with nuts and bolts and screws. I can bid on those contracts. I can bid on print jobs. I can bid on a few other things, right? My brother has a commercial cleaning company. So now I'm pushing him into that SAMS.gov so that way we can actually bid on some of these federal government contracts around cleaning those buildings, right? The city of New Haven has a small contractors program. My job and my goal now is to get 10 business owners that I know, whether they're starting or, been up active for a little while, to register with the small contractors development program and put themselves in that system because that system helps them become a multi-million-dollar company before it lets them out. They can tag up to $3 million worth of contracts once their capacity allows them to hold that with the city of New Haven for us, I think a number of years, either 1, 2, or 3 years before they're actually kicked out of that system. So a company that's starting off with just only can barely take a $10,000 contract because he's alone, can turn himself into a multi-million-dollar company going through programs like that, right? But a lot of our companies in our community, they have workforce issues. So workforce development is our number one defense that we're going to need, right? We need running backs. We need enough running backs to come and play the game and pull them off the bench when it's time for a big contract. Our kids don't have any skills. Nobody's giving them carpentry, plumbing, electrician, painting, none of these skills. So we have 7,000 youth between the age of 18 and 30 sitting on the bench, can't get work, looking for some jobs, have other issues that need to be addressed, yes, but can be skilled up to be the workforce that our businesses need. So we don't
I'll,
have to try to get from the union and things of that nature, man. So we can do all kinds of things, man. We just have to make a decision that we want to do things.
Well, I would say you have to make a decision. You also have to have a plan. The metaphor you were speaking in regards to sports. So running back is a skill position. Tight end is a skill position. Wide receiver is a skill position. Just like in basketball, forward, power forward, center, although there are not any real centers right now, but that's besides the point. Yeah,
They
there
have to be
definitely
trained.
yeah, there are definitely gaps in the workforce development. I myself have been working with the governor's strategic workforce to do some strategic planning around workforce development. My focus is around reentry. There's a lot of individuals in that population that have skills. They just need to be fine tuned, or they need to be skilled up, as you said, to meet these demands in these different positions. Even right now, my son, as you said, he falls in that demographic that you're just talking about, the 18 to 30. He's 28. He's going to college educated, but he's now seeking to get a skill in some type of vocational as well as the skills that he has with his degree. So he's looking for an apprenticeship program, whether that's electrician, plumbing, or whatever have you. It's a great skill set to have. And you recognize in our community, specifically New Haven, because every community is different. I talk to my friends in say like Texas or in Atlanta, you know, they have a plethora of these folks in these vocations. Whereas specifically in New Haven, you know, you're hard pressed to find people that look like us. There are a few out there, but you're hard pressed to find people that look like us in specific vocations that you need a plumber, electrician. There are a few out there, but the demand is so overwhelming, you're going to be weeks out before you can get somebody, is what I found in my experience. And speaking to the other programming that you were talking about, that the small contractors or small business program, I was just reading an article about an individual who was in the military. He came out of the military and got his accountant's degree, and he worked for some accounting firms. And then, you know, we had issues in the economy, and, you know, the bottom fell out in 2008, 2007, lost his job. And then he recognized that he can go into business for himself. And that's exactly how he did it, by getting the contracts. I think he's just coming out of the cycle where, or his time limit. I think the governmental program that he was in, it wasn't a local municipal one, it was a federal one. So I think he was in it. He was in it for up to like 9 or 10 years to build up his business and his capacity. So I think the other thing is what you're talking about. And luckily we have folks like you said, you're plugging in your brother into a program like that, and you're looking to plug in 10 other people, is we don't know what we don't know. We don't know that there are programs out like this. But I think the thing that frustrates me, and as a person who has worked in state government and in a local municipality, we can get more people on the New Haven Green for a free concert than we can get into the office I used to work in on Dixwell. That's actually no longer there. They're making apartments there, 316 Dixwell, where we had financial literacy for free. We had assistance with doing your taxes for free. We had all of these programs, and we had this big opening in that building. And then I find myself, you know, coming out of work one day and speaking to a lady that lives right in the neighborhood, like across the street from the location. And she goes, you know, well, what do you guys do here? And it just boggled my mind how this building and these services were inserted into the community, and I have somebody that lives right across the street and they have no clue that these services are here, or even the former Dixwell Plaza, where some of the was the Black Business Contractors was. I didn't know that was there.
And Professionals Association. Like, so I never knew it was there my entire life until I came back in 2012. Right. I'm looking for a place to kind of help me cultivate my business, and somebody turned me on to them. I walked by the building 5 times. I didn't know which door I could go in. Then the door wound up being open and somebody was coming out. So I'm like, what's this? And they're like, this is the Greater New Haven Business and Professionals Association. So again, it's all about what we don't know. We don't communicate, we don't share resources. So I had to go and find out where things existed at for myself, right? As a minister of information, which I have been named, it's my job to return to the community with as much information around resources that I can possibly find. I can't use everything. Everything isn't for me, but my community needs everything. So everything that I don't need, everybody else may need, or somebody needs one of the 10 items that I've realized exist. So when we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about resources, there's tons of resources. When we're talking about opportunities, there's tons of opportunities. The goal is to get the information into the hands of the people. And when we save them all, no. Some people are so hopeless that there's no way we can save them. They have to save themselves, man. But what I learned this last month, so these last couple of weeks I've taken on, I've used my new established space, which is 266 Dixwell Avenue, um, to be a workforce site for youth at work. I have 7 young men from youth at work that come in Monday through Friday, 10 to 3, all of them highly engaged with what's happening here. All of them highly engaged with what we do outside and looking for as many opportunities as possible. We had a conversation with a mixed group of young men and young women the first day, which was July 1st when we first entered in here. And the kids basically told us, like, the community doesn't reach out to them. The community is scared of them. People don't deal with the kids because they think the kids are all crazy and going to destroy all of their stuff. So the kids don't have opportunities. And I know for a fact, once a kid turns 14, if they're not working for a place like Leap, or trying to get a youth at work job in the summer and maintain one through the entire school year, they don't have many opportunities here. They don't have opportunities to get trained. They don't have places to go where they can get internships, none of those things like we had in the past. So it's our job to start being a supplier. It didn't cost me anything but me paying the rent for my business, which I was going to do anyway, and saying, yes, I'm going to allow these kids to come in here, and yes, I'm going to teach them, but I'm not teaching them about printing. I'm teaching them about systems of business and the ability to be business development for themselves. You know, right now they're my active street team. They're going out, passing out flyers and marketing for the company, and letting people know that we're here. But they're building themselves into their own street team. And if I have it my way, they'll have their own LLC, and they'll be reaching out to companies like mines, including mines, for consistent marketing to help them grow themselves as well, right? And then there's other talents and skills that these kids have that we just have to hone in on.
Mm-hmm.
And because I
So,
know most families are in crisis, my goal is to have the children learn to financially manage themselves and their monies a lot better, so they can be somewhat of a better support to their families that are currently in crisis, and they can help teach their parents how to get out of crisis. Because all of us have to learn this mechanism because we've never been taught, most of us in our community.
no doubt. I actually just have been talking to a core group of some of my day ones, and we were talking about doing some investing together. And rather than just getting together and kick it and talk about sports, we want to talk about some other endeavors. And part of the challenge that we had charged each other with was, if you didn't already have it, starting an LLC or a nonprofit. And I was talking to one of my homies, and it was like, yeah, I know we got this deadline. where do I even start to do an LLC? I was like, dude, all the resources are right here. One, you could just hop online. You got Google University right at your fingertips. But I've gone through it. I mean, in New Haven, there's a program, an entrepreneurship program. You can apply and get into that class, and it'll take you step from A to Z. But in order to if you just want to start your LLC, go down there. They can help you get your LLC up and running. It's not a huge cost investment. It's somewhere between $100 and $200, depending, to get your what is it, EIN.
Right.
But again, you get back to the point where you're talking about the things that we don't know, how we don't necessarily invest in our youth. A lot of folks in our community are afraid of our youth. There's no meeting people where they're at. I'm wondering, I definitely want to get back to this programming that you're doing with the youth and keeping them involved and bringing them up and under you, not just as workers, but showing them how they can start their own business or do whatever it is that they want to do, utilizing the specific skills and interests that they have.
Right.
But I'm curious, like you said, you got out, you started you worked as a carpenter, went through that process, left, started your own business. I'm assuming, I don't want to assume, you can correct me, the first business that you started is your print business back in the early 2000s. And then you started your print business. You worked with Mr. Trimble. You guys had the sports academy going. You have your advocacy endeavors with Stop Gun Violence.
Connecticut Against Gun Violence.
Connecticut Against Gun Violence. And that's a fair bit of advocacy work because that also can impact policy. And you're doing other activism in the community around social and economic development. Can you kind of just give me a straight through line of that trajectory? And then we can get back to some of the programming and everything that you have going on right now.
So when you say a straight through line, all of
As
this
straight,
stuff that
as you can make it. As straight as you can make it.
So in 2008, I opened up Ready for Print with my cousin, Todd Reeves, and my brother. 2011, my son was killed. We closed 2012. Ready for Print was dissolved. My cousin kept the name out of the S. He keeps Ready for Print. I came down to New Haven, started RHR Print Copy and Digital Service Providers, Reeves, Harrison, and Robinson, which is the last names of all my children. For me, it was just a way to kind of stay active, I guess, and not put myself in the corner of depression where I was headed. Through that time, again, I ran into Mr. Trimble, started working with the chess and working with youth development, and realized that working with youth made my heart sing. Right. Not a lot of money there at the moment, doing a lot of volunteer work. So at one point in time, I had to get a job. Connecticut Against Gun Violence came. There was an RFP actually that the city of New Haven put out to do violence prevention blueprint. I registered as Prince on Deck to try and do the RFP, Connecticut Against Gun Violence as well. Of course, they were awarded the contract. They were 27 years in on gun violence prevention efforts in the state of Connecticut. The one thing that happened, though, once they were awarded the contract, the executive director at the time, which was Jeremy Stein, went around the city asking for the person that they needed to kind of talk to help engage in that process. And he couldn't really get around me. The mayor told him, don't mess with me. But, at the end of the day, I wound up getting a job, doing excellent with the job. We do have a blueprint for the Office of Violence Prevention that they're actually utilizing right now. They're from New Haven, went to Bridgeport, did another one. A lot of advocacy out of DC, Hartford, talking to a lot of legislators, Congress people, et cetera, et cetera. And now it's 2024. January, my executive director at the time, Jeremy Stein, resigns from Connecticut Against Gun Violence. I'm kind of going through a lot, but I'm realizing a lot of my stressors are coming from my job and the fact that it's causing me a lot of grief, continuously talking about my son and the situation. So, I got a call. Somebody came and called me. I came down to this place. spoke to the owners, kind of went through the technicalities. He wanted to find out more information about me. I got a call back about a week later. The owner said that they were gonna lease me the space if I still wanted it. At the time, I didn't have a dollar to my name on how to pay for the space. I still accepted. I probably had about 3 weeks. Again, I'm an ingenuitive guy, but I'm also on God's time now, not my time. And that's my higher power moment. 2 weeks, no, not even 2 weeks. 2 days later, the finance company that I was working with to negotiate my net 30 contracts from the city of New Haven that I had on the table, being that now I can do a lot of local government contracting, they agreed to accept me and take me on as a client. I had about $10,000 in my account the day after that. It was enough for me to handle the jobs, pay first month rent and security here, and get to the business. Since then, I've just been a moving train, a work in progress. But again, when I'm say yes, Prince on Deck how is housed here, but Prince on Deck is going to be Prince on Deck School of Business Development for youth. I call this place Ground Zero because it's not for me, it's for us. It's for the community. It's for the things that the community needs through me that I can provide to it. Right. So I'm on a higher purpose time right now, Earl. I don't worry. I just do. Right. I come outside, I say hello to everyone in the morning. I let people know that I love them. I let people know that this world loves them, this universe loves them. They need to love themselves more. But if I can do it, anybody could do it because I'm no different from them. I just
Where
decided not to give up.
That's definitely commendable. That speaks to what you were talking about earlier, the perseverance. My question, so you have the new location. Where exactly is that located on Dixwell? Is that over there by where back in the day, I know I'm dating myself. Is that over there by where churches used to be?
So Church's Chicken used to be on the corner, yep, or directly across the street from the old Monterey.
Okay, the old
I
Monopoly,
believe
yeah.
the last business that was in this particular space was Latanya Daniels with her beauty salon. So
Okay.
I'm right behind the hot spot parking lot. Everybody coming, and some people like, why would you want to go there? But I said this is the perfect place for a person like me. You know what I'm saying?
It's right
I
in the
wouldn't
center
have
of
it any other
everything.
way.
Yeah, right.
Listen, man,
It's
you
right in the
you know
center of
where I like
everything.
to be, Earl.
No
You know what I'm
doubt,
saying?
no doubt.
I'm a community kid. I'm a neighborhood kid, man. Everybody knows me. I know everybody. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. I've mended all my differences with any persons that I've had, indifferences with from my previous life. I ain't gonna say everything is all good, but we have clear understandings that that's no longer my life. I'm trying to do better. The goal is to continuously do better. They're trying to do better. So we've we've left the conversation on a manly level. Just, even if we don't want to speak to each other, we're going to have respect for one another when we're in each other's presence. And that's good enough for me because it allows me to have safety for the children that I have inside my office. It
Mhm.
allows me to feel safe when I'm out riding my bike and when I'm out working with them in the daytime.
I was just about to ask
So,
you, are you still riding your bike around everywhere? Yeah.
yeah, so I love my bicycle, man. I've been on that bike since COVID. It's actually got me closer to nature, but the bike has actually gotten me even closer to the community than I've ever been because I don't really have to miss anything. I can ride into any neighborhood. When I'm riding in a car, it's hard to stop, but on a bicycle, I just hit a couple of brakes. I can turn around. I can talk to everyone, children, youth, adults, and our elderly, because it's important. I need to know how they feel about certain things. I need to give them information on what I have as far as resources go that they may not know exist. But the relationships that I've rebuilt, recaptured from childhood was very important to me. So, when we talked about the ledge,
Yeah.
excuse me,
Take your time, man.
I turned around and I had a whole city waiting for me with open arms. And every day they give me that same energy. So I ain't never going back to the ledge. You know what I'm saying? And this is why I fight and do what I do because they've shown me that they do care for people. And if they could care for me, they can care for others. So I let it work through me right now.
I think one, thank you for being that vulnerable, first of all. But I think also what you're saying that if they can care for you, they can care for others. One of the other things that you said that I think is supremely important is that they can care for themselves. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's all interconnected. You have to have a level of care for yourself, a level of compassion and empathy for yourself in order to be able to share that with other people's and build on that with other people's. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, your story is amazing. And for you to share that with me, I know we've had multiple conversations. I don't think we have as many conversations as I would like to have. But I know, you know, it was a while back, we ended up linking up and you came over and, you know, we had a couple of libations and that was a very meaningful moment in conversation for me. Also to see your evolution and your growth. Um, like I said, I was saying in that conversation, it's a double-edged sword where when we were growing up, it's like certain people have high expectations of certain folks in our demographics, in our contemporaries, and other folks, their low expectations. And we're at the point where we see the folly of that, where we should have high expectations for everybody to succeed.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we have to set some community standards again. Right now, our community doesn't have a standard for itself. Our
Right.
kids, we don't have a standard for our kids' education. We don't have a standard for ourselves or how we operate. Like, I have a new storefront. I'm around a bunch of individuals who are using narcotics, stuff like that. So they've been coming to my office, with things to sell. I haven't bought anything. The first thing I tell them is, yo, my standard is this. Don't come in here trying to sell me things that you stolen from somebody else that look like you or look like me or from anywhere at that. We have to stop stealing. We have to start figuring out how to start healing, not stealing, killing, and all of those things. So, again, I'm just setting a standard for me. I'm not saying it's everybody's standard, but the children that I work for, they enjoy the standard that I've set here. And they are now setting standards for themselves based off of a standard that I've learned to set for myself. And the ability to empower them with the words they can set standards for themselves. They don't have to accept the unacceptable. No, they don't have to work in lowly standards. They don't have to accept that they go to school and get a sport in a trade that looks just like the prison trade. They don't have to accept that they don't want to eat the lunch there. They don't have to accept those things. They can be empowered to communicate. And that's my job, is to empower them to communicate what they don't want, but also to make sure that they know what they do want and communicate that as well. Right. But we have to set a standard here, man, because our communities die due to lack of standards. The males don't have a high standard for themselves here, and we have to set a standard for ourselves. We have to set a standard for our women. And, we have to start figuring out how to live on that. Honestly, like, it's no disrespect to anything that anybody's doing, but I know what I like. And when things that come my way that I don't like, I let them know, like, yo, no disrespect, but that's not me. I like my women covered up to a certain degree, right? I like my women personal and private to a certain degree. I don't like the woman that's showing her whole body and says, this is how I met her and this is how I should accept her. I get it, to each his own, but I'm not that guy, right? I
But
have
yeah,
standards that I
you
like to
don't have
live
to
by and
accept it.
morals that I carry,
Yeah, you absolutely don't have to accept it.
right? So I
Um,
don't have to accept poverty in my community anymore, especially if I know new ways to earn income. So my job is I'm teaching the drug dealers in front of my space or around my space how to start figuring out ways to invest their money and get out of the game, right? They could be business owners, they can be property owners. Yep. They might think it's impossible because they have dirty money, but all dirty money can be clean. America is dirty money, right? How
America's
many
dirty.
lives had to be destroyed for America to be at this heightened level of success, if that's what you choose to call it, right?
America has
And we have
a
to stop coddling and tiptoeing around these things, man, and let people know America is built on business. And the sooner our community gets into that business standard mind frame, we're gonna be a lot better off. We're gonna manage ourselves in a much higher capacity, and we will have everything that we need. We don't have to be greedy and try and have it all. We just want our fair share, just like everybody else should, could, and will have one day.
America's history on business is definitely dirty and filled with a lot of avarice and a lot of blood. The history, I don't think
True
we
indeed.
talk.
It's a
Yeah,
conversation for another day, right?
yeah.
Because
I don't
American
think we talk
history
enough about it.
can go
But
on
to
forever.
say, but to get to the point, you mentioned just this is just off rip. You mentioned that your new location, your new office location is across from the Monterey. How many people in our community even know what the Monterey was?
So,
Or that whole corridor right there in Dixwell and what that was to the black community.
none of the kids know, right? So it's our job to teach them the history and the reasons why certain things exist, why things should be a certain kind of way. A lot of our peer group lost this history and they don't know. So this is why they act unaccordingly because had they known, they may decide to do things differently. We have to get back to teaching our history, the richness of our history, not the dismal side about the slavery piece. Um, we've cultivated what the world currently looks like from our gifts that we've given to them. Now,
Absolutely.
people have taken the gifts that we've given to them, and some of them have manipulated in ways where they've destroyed lives and really oppressed mankind. But nonetheless, they were gifted from people that looked like us in the past with this information and knowledge. Our job is to just keep trying to transform ourselves at this point, Earl. Technology has afforded us the opportunity to never be held back again. So we got to now get off the couch with the conversations about X person has got our foot on our necks and so got this and that. Now, when we get up, stand up and tip the table over, we're going to be able to see the forest that's there, right? Then I can put somebody on my shoulders and they can see past the trees and let us know what's ahead of us. But I got to be willing to put somebody else on my shoulders while I'm here. I can't try to say I'm going to do it all first and then give it to them after I figure it out. It's never going to work like that. Teamwork makes dreams work, not
Definitely.
singularities.
You gotta lift as you climb, man. That
Definitely.
goes without
So
question.
our job is just to raise our children, man. If we can raise our children and raise the standard of what we expect from our children, our community's sickness will start beginning to heal itself. But our community is very sick at the moment. Our kids are suffering because the adults have not decided to do what's best for our children. We're still trying to figure out how to do what's best for us. We had our shot. I'm 50. I'll be 51 this year, man. I'm trying to make it to be 100, but my life is in servitude to make sure that my community is a much cleaner, safer, and better place for my daughter, my son, and the sons and daughters that they're going to produce in the future, man. If I don't
So
do that, I've not done my job.
we got about 3 minutes before we close out. In those 3 minutes, if you can give me three key points on how we can connect to some of these resources, what your next steps are, and the programming that you have with the 7 young men, is that just for the summer or will that go on into the fall as well?
So the program with the 7 young men, they're here for youth at work, but no, we've already committed to another 12 weeks. I'm going to have a intro to painting and then an intro to financial literacy program that I'm going to be working with them now that we're starting to talk around budgeting their dollars that they're making from youth at work. Will it be a paid opportunity? No. Do they know this? Yes. Are they still coming? Yes, because the first week they came through the door, they asked me if they could continue coming back even when the program ended. So yes. Um, 3 resources, Community Action Agency. Huge resource. They're not just electricity and gas bills. They have all kinds of resources for our community. Anybody that's looking for something, go see Community Action Agency of New Haven on Welly Avenue.
Shout out to Amos Smith, Mr. Smith.
We have to go to the automatic meetings, right? So if you want information, go figure out when the automatic meetings are for the areas of interest that you're interested in. Start attending meetings, get your information so that way you know exactly what you're talking about, what the city's talking about, what's happening, and how we can kind of insert ourselves in the process of being in the process and not staring at it from the outside, always complaining.
Yeah, like the Plan 20, what is it? The Plan 2034 that they're asking people to come out and take part in, looking at the future of New Haven 10 years down the line.
Right. And then, I'm here now. I have put out a call for 100 men to try and donate an hour a week of their time. I'm going to be back making that call now with a position so that way I have places where everybody could come that's looking to sign up and sign up. But my goal is to put 100 man hours a week together to start increasing the reading, math, and other areas of focus for our kids and the community members that want to learn and read, develop themselves. So any males, any females that want to have an hour, I just need 1 hour per week of your time, but I also need you to think about contracting your time 1 hour a week for 1 year minimum. So that way we can have consistency. We can make sure that we're inside of these 2nd and 3rd grade classrooms weekly, reading to our babies, teaching them math, and doing everything that we possibly can to expand their horizons for their betterment of their futures.
All right. Well, we're coming on that time, sir. I can't thank you enough for spending some time with me and just having a conversation. I think we touched on a multitude of subject areas that can lead to some other longer conversations, definitely.
Definitely.
So I will be hitting you up, and it may not be on this. It may just to sit on either your porch or my porch or at the stoop of your business and just kick it and have these conversations. I don't.
Anytime, man. I'm open 10 to 6 Monday through Friday, 11 to 3 on Saturdays. This is called Ground Zero. Like I said, it's for the community. It's not for me. Yes, when I'm done, this is going to be a full service printing company. We're going to be doing a lot of apparel printing versus paper printing, but we do print everything. Signs, banners, business cards, lawn signs, funeral programs, menus, magazines, you name it. But come, man. The goal is for us to figure out how to commune in bigger groups, how to get our males in spaces and places and talk our way through all of our traumas and tragedies into a much more successful, peaceful opportunity for ourselves, man. I deal with trauma all the time. I'm traumatized, but I do go to trauma therapy. I do go to groups, and I also facilitate groups, man. So let's not be ashamed of ourselves and what we've been through. Let's just decide to heal ourselves so that way we can go through to get to. I love you all.
Hey, folks, if you don't know it, man, you got a gem in the community. His name is Sean Reeves, Sr. Thank you again for sharing this time. Thank you again, Tom Ficklin, for providing the platform. Thank you, Harry, for production. Appreciate you. Appreciate New Haven. Thank you all. Have a great day. Be blessed.
Peace, peace, peace.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road. Let's camera action.
You're listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHHLP 103.5 SM.